Hello, Cavaliers. My name is Austin Fitzgerald for Campus Talk. My guest here today is Nathan Vickers, who is a reporter for KCTV5. How are you doing today, Nathan?
Austin, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little about your job and what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I'm a multimedia journalist for KCTV5, which means that I am on air, I report stories, but I also use my own camera. I do my own camera work, so I shoot, write, and edit 1 or even 2 stories a day for the 4, 5, or 6 o'clock news.
So what is your best, worst, or most ridiculous story that you've ever covered?
Wow. Well, I think my favorite story that I've ever covered was about a prairie chicken in Lockwood, Missouri. He was the last prairie chicken on this little nature reserve, and they dubbed him Lonesome Chuck because he was so lonely, and so he was always looking for a mate and making ridiculous noises and flying right up to people. He was really territorial, and it was just it was kind of a funny story because of the chicken and what he was doing, but it was also kind of a sad story because he's Lonesome Chuck.
Mm-hmm. So when you're doing these stories, who decides what you do on a day?
Yeah, so I pitch 1 or 2 stories every day, and we have an editorial team that takes a look at those pitches, and they decide whether to let me do my own story, or sometimes they have a story that they want me to do, or sometimes things just happen. We might have a car crash or a fatal fire or something that we sort of have to cover. So we can make plans, but the plan usually changes.
So during that process, the editing, the reporting, and all that, how long does that take?
Usually I like to give myself at least an hour to shoot a story. And then it takes a while to sort of process that video, and then I try to give myself an hour to write, and then maybe another hour to edit. So I like to have 3 or 4 hours for every story I do. Sometimes I get less than that. Sometimes I get to extend it out a little bit and I have more time.
Yeah, and as we were talking before, you said on the news it's more, you see like a minute, 10 minute, 30 stories, and it's a lot longer than that.
Yeah, you know, as I've gotten into the business, the length of our stories has gotten shorter and shorter. When I first started, they wanted, you know, maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes per story, and then it shrunk to 1.5 and 1:15, and now they like our stories to be about 1:10 long. So you have to make your writing tight, and you have to sort of shoot in a way that it's easier to edit, and so that you can sequence your shots right and get a sort of a quickly moving story on the air.
So just last question, what is a word of advice you would give to people who are just starting out in the business or who want to start in journalism?
Yeah, I would tell young people to invest in yourself, whether you're taking a class or you know, you're in your first job. You know, you might want to learn computer coding or a language skill. For me, a lot of it was sort of learning how to shoot and edit a little bit better than what they sort of teach you on the job. And for me, it was buying my own set of equipment so that I could go out and shoot stories on my own terms.
All right. Well, this has been Jason. This has been Campus Talk, Cavaliers. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me, Nathan. Good to see you.
Thank you, Austin.